300,000 viewers.
That's a cancellation number. The co-creator got fired. Felony charges 3 years ago. Rotten Tomatoes audience score hit 33%, which is the worst in the show's history. And then Adult Swim, their response was to lock the show in through 2029. Like, just let that sit for a second. Because by every rule of modern TV, Rick and Morty should be dead right now. Season 8 just wrapped. Season 9 is already in the can. There's a spin-off this year, a movie in development. So what is actually going on here? Because you've been looking at the wrong numbers this whole time. And I mean that like literally. The numbers I just read you, they're real. They happened. Season 7 premiere pulled under 500,000 overnights. And later that season, it bottomed out at 290,000 Nielsen viewers, which for a show that in 2017 was Adult Swim's highest rated telecast ever, that's not a dip. That's a freaking cliff. But those numbers don't matter the way you think they matter. And honestly, they haven't mattered for about 7 years. And you just didn't notice. Okay, so let me back up real quick, because the history is where the whole thing cracks wide open. May 2018. Adult Swim does something almost nobody does in cable anymore. They order 70 episodes of Rick and Morty in a single block. And not a season, 70 episodes. At that point, the show had aired 31 total. So this one deal more than doubled everything that had ever existed of Rick and Morty in one afternoon, signed in one room. Christina Miller, who ran Cartoon Network and Adult Swim at the time, called it what a modern day hit looks like across multiple screens and multiple touch points, which is, okay, that's corporate speak for, we are not treating this like a TV show anymore. We're treating it like a platform. And the reason that one deal matters, the reason I'm spending time on a contract from 2018 is because of what happened 5 years later. All right, let's scroll back to January 2023. NBC News breaks the story. Justin Roiland, co-creator, the voice of both Rick and Morty, charged with felony domestic battery and false imprisonment with charges dated to a 2020 incident. Within weeks, Adult Swim severs ties. Hulu drops him from Solar Opposites and Koala Man the same month, and he is gone. And I want to be careful here because in I believe March 2023, the Orange County DA dismissed those charges, citing insufficient evidence. But Adult Swim did not reverse the firing. Whatever you think about that sequence, the point for what we're talking about is the business side of it. The guy who voiced Rick, the guy who voiced Morty, Mr. Meeseeks, Mr. Poopy Butthole, Noob, like a decent chunk of the one-off characters that made the show sound like the show, gone. Mid-deal. Now, normal TV logic here, right? Scandal like that, lead voice actor who's also the co-creator. You wind the show down, you do one more season to honor commitments, and you quietly stop talking about it, and that's just what happens to shows. Except Rick and Morty was not a normal show anymore, all because of that 2018 deal. They had roughly 40 episodes still contractually committed, and they couldn't wind it down. They could only recast. And so they did. Ian Cardone and Harry Belden walked into a booth in 2023 and did the single hardest audition in modern animation, which is basically do this other guy's voice, but do it like you're not doing his voice. And season 7 premiered in October 2023 to the worst numbers the franchise had ever seen. 33% on Rotten Tomatoes from audiences. Franchise low on Nielsen, and the review from fans was basically, the soul is gone. Boo. Slop. And here's where it gets weird, because if you're Adult Swim sitting there in 2024 looking at post-Scandal, post-Roiland, soul is gone, ratings collapse, you do one of two things. You bury it, or you limp it to the end of the 70 and thank everybody for their service. So, and then October 2024 arrives. They casually announce 2 more seasons on top through season 12.
2029.
And my dear viewer, I need you to just let that land for a second, because this is the part that almost nobody actually sits with. Adult Swim watched the show get its worst reviews, its worst ratings, lose its co-creator to a public controversy, and they responded by extending the runway by 4 years. And guys, that's not a rescue by any means. That's a bet. And the bet only makes sense if the thing they're betting on is not the thing you're watching on Sunday night. Okay, here's the number. Parrot Analytics, which is basically the Bloomberg terminal for global streaming demand, has Rick and Morty at 45.3 times the US TV average. not 45% more popular. 45 times. Top 0.2% of all shows. Over 10 billion lifetime views globally across linear and digital and streaming. Okay, that's a marketing number from a WBD press release. And I'll cop to that, but like, even if you chop it in half, it's still a staggering figure. 150 plus global licensees, airs in 110 countries, dubbed in 26 languages. Forbes put the franchise's total revenue north of $1 billion. Wendy's and Coca-Cola did a branded cross promo with this thing. A Pickle Rick Frosty pop-up, a Portal Time lemon lime drink, and that is not fan merch. That is 2 Fortune 500 brands deciding Rick and Morty is valuable enough cultural real estate to co-brand with. And I didn't make that up. You can go look at the Wendy's press release. It happened. So when I say you're looking at the wrong numbers, what I mean is the Nielsen overnight is the least important metric attached to this property. It's just a rounding error. Like, nobody's clipping according to Jim on TikTok. But your feed is full of Rick and Morty. And that matters because the cable show is not the product. The cable show is just the trailer. And the product is the catalog. And this is where it gets, I don't know, kind of wild actually. Because Warner Brothers Discovery, the parent company, the people who actually get to make the renew or kill call, is in a fist fight with Netflix and Disney over streaming subscribers. Max is the library play, and Max needs flagship adult animation the same way Netflix needs Stranger Things. And they tipped their hand last year on this, quietly. Season 8 in 2025, the window between Adult Swim airing an episode and it hitting Max went from 5 months to 30 days. Five months to 30 days. And that is a company saying out loud with their distribution strategy that the streaming tail is now more valuable than the linear premiere. The live viewers are essentially promotional, and the real audience is the person clicking on Max 3 weeks later and staying subscribed for the month. And when season 8 ran, it just dominated Max's top TV charts for the entire run. Critical rebound to 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. Audience score up to 89 at premiere. It dipped mid-season, and I'm not gonna pretend it didn't. The 79 by the end is real. But the point is, the machine worked. The recast held. The audience came back. The charts lit up. Anyway, there's a broader piece here too, which cable animation as a whole is in free fall because Gen Z and Gen Alpha are just not watching linear. Like, they're not. Adult Swim's overall viewership only dropped 3% in 2024, while their peer networks were down double digits. And the reason Adult Swim held the floor is more or less this one show. So now, from a pure portfolio standpoint, Rick and Morty isn't a TV show Adult Swim is choosing to keep. It's the thing keeping Adult Swim relevant enough to still exist as a brand. And when you just zoom out and look at all of it together, for Adult Swim, Rick and Morty is the studio's load-bearing wall for Warner Brothers. Discovery, it's Max's streaming anchor. And globally, you've got a licensing empire with 150 licensees and a Netflix international deal that prints money viciously outside the US. Anime spinoff dropped in 2024. President Curtis, the new spinoff with Keith David and Stephanie Beatriz and Jim Rash, launching this year. Movie in development at WBD. Dan Harmon told Gizmodo he's already written through season 10 and is working on 11 and 12 ahead of schedule. And Scott Marder at New York Comic-Con last year said, and I quote, Rick and Morty, 100 years, forever. 100 years, forever? Not really, obviously, but kinda, obviously. Because here's the thing nobody seems to want to say out loud. Rick and Morty stopped being a television show somewhere around 2019 and became infrastructure. It became the Pickle Rick reference your coworker makes, the portal gun tattoo you saw on somebody's forearm at a concert, the I'm Mr. Meeseeks, look at me, that got whispered at every office holiday party between 2017 and 2022, until everyone collectively agreed to just stop. Like we all agreed. It leaked into how people talk. And once a show becomes how you actually form sentences in your own head, canceling it feels like canceling a word. It's giving language, no cap. Dan Harmon said something at NYCC in 2024 that I think about a lot. He said, nobody wants a universe without Rick and Morty. Fortunately, the list of places to go remains infinite. And that sounds like a platitude until you realize he's not saying it to fans. He's saying it to the accountants. He's telling WBD, there is always another season of stories, always another spinoff, always another dimension. And as long as that's true, the IP has nowhere to land and die. And it just keeps generating. So the secret to Rick and Morty staying on the air, if you want the bumper sticker version, the 2018 deal bought it time to survive the scandal, the franchise infrastructure made it too expensive to kill, and by the time Adult Swim would have had any reason to pull the plug, the show had transitioned into the category of thing that nobody in Burbank has the authority to cancel. It's not a show on a network, it's a pillar of a library. And you don't remove a pillar to save a few bucks on episode costs when the episode's costs are the fundamental thing keeping the building upright. The 300,000 live viewers don't matter. The 33% audience score doesn't matter. The firing, and I mean this, weirdly didn't matter. At least not in the way you'd expect. Because the deal that protected the show was signed 5 years before anyone knew they'd need protecting. And that's the real secret. It wasn't strategy, it was timing. Adult Swim accidentally bought insurance against a scandal that hadn't happened yet. The insurance paid out, and now the thing it was insuring is worth more than the network underwriting it. And that's just... yeah, that's the whole machine. Quiet. Whatever. Tell me in the comments if you think the recast held, or if season 8 felt like the real thing coming back. Or if President Curtis is gonna land, because I'm curious. I actually don't have a read on that last one yet. The spinoff is the real test. And if Curtis works, then the Infinity Machine works. And if it doesn't, well, I mean, if it doesn't, we start having a pretty different conversation, don't we? This is Morty Fiction, and yeah, I'll see you when I see ya. Cut. That's a beast.